Greetings and welcome back to Let's Play Japan in Victoria 3. When we had left off, I had promised that we would look at some foreign adventures this episode, and we shall do exactly this. But first, let's look for some foreign friends. Now often as Japan, I play the entire run without any meaningful great power allies, preferring to more align myself with middle powers, but in this case, maybe we have some new opportunities. In particular, I noted two opportunities in between the recording of the episodes. Firstly, if we look at Russia, we can see that they might be willing to give us an alliance. Pretty strong probability there. However, I'm not sure we really want to do this. They're willing to give us this alliance, of course, because our military rearmament program has been so successful and they see us as much more of an equal partner. The other option is Great Britain. They are, however, unfortunately already allied to Belgium, so we could only get a defensive pact with them. Nonetheless, I think we're going to do that. So let's align ourselves with a defensive pact here. The probability of acceptance isn't terribly high, so let's tack in something else as well, perhaps a power block embassy. They're never going to get enough leverage in our country anyhow, so giving this to them doesn't really hurt us in any way. Let's see if we can get trade privileges as well. That probability is a bit lower, but I think we shoot for this anyways, because this would be beneficial for us. Alright, Treaty 1 is set. Now I haven't totally just ruled out allying with Russia, and I'm even tempted to do it right now, because our next target, I think, should be going back into Qing. Our truce with them has only about 10 weeks left, if I'm correct. 3 months, alright, so a little bit further than 10 weeks. Nonetheless, I think we can hold off on Russia until the last minute. We may be able to sway them in, even without an alliance. In all likelihood, probably so. And I think that we're going to have to be expanding into Manchuria, in part because of our lack of ability, at least in the near term, to expand into the Dutch East Indies, and due to a quite problematic diplomatic situation with taking the Philippines. As I noted, if we say that we actually want to conquer something here, well, let's go to the full-on transfer subject. It looks like people won't come, but this isn't really the case because they're a subject. And we'd much more realistically have to see who would support Spain. We can't really check because we have no interest there, but whoops, sorry about that. Not interested in power blocks. We can, however, see that Spain does have quite a few diplomatic treaties, including an alliance with France, lasting 6 more weeks, a defensive treaty with Prussia lasting a few more years, and a defensive treaty with Russia, which has expired but hasn't yet been, withdrawn from. So I think it's much safer to not immediately go into the Philippines on our own, not at least until we either have a supporting partner or we have a much bigger navy. Well, not much bigger, but able to take on the majority of the French fleet while also doing a holding action against the Russian fleet. So for our first war, we're actually going to do something very risky, high danger, many deaths anticipated. We're going to take Sulu Luzon. So not so risky, not many deaths anticipated. We're doing this overtaking Mindanao, the southern Philippines, because it's simply less infamy, and we're going to have to save our infamy for the next war. I always want to try to keep close to under 14, except when we're doing a major addition to our empire. So let's do that. Conquer state, and you can see there's a 14% chance they'll even accept, so let's see if they do. I probably don't want to take anything else from them, even though it's tempting. It'd be nice to just, again, keep that infamy low. I'm hoping that Russia will wrap up their war here soon and help us in Qing to take some new land. Let's get the clock rolling then nice and slowly, reminding you, of course, that we're still trying to pass professional army, and that we're wrapping up our motor industries and some more ships here in our construction queue before pausing for a little while. Let's slowly get that clock a-ticking. Sulu has decided that no, they don't really want to do that, and the British have agreed to our treaty. That's quite good for us. Trade advantage in Britain will help us in selling our goods a little bit. Let's mobilize a unit to address the threat from Sulu. We'll be mobilizing this unit, but I'm going to quickly rename them as long as I have the opportunity. Normally I might go for a fancier name, but we're just going to go for RRF, Rapid Reaction Force for now, and give them a more appropriate aggressive looking icon. There we go. Let's mobilize them. Ready to go. And we'll need to check where our fleet is. It's sitting right here. That's a terrible place for a fleet. I often forget to move them into harbor. Let's, for now, just move them on down to here. Clock is still ticking rather slow, so let's speed that up a tiny bit. And get this play going here. I'm going to add in a humiliation, just to try to discourage them from fighting this war. It is oh so tempting, though, to fight the war and to take some more land next to Brunei to ease that eventual conquest. But again, I will be sad if it ends up that we can't attack Qing right away and this infamy burning is wasted, but it's fine. And indeed, Sulu backed down. And we can barely tell the difference between their color and ours. So, unfortunately, Sulu has been built without a port. Not built without a port, we have acquired it, and it lacks a port. We would plan on eventually handing this off, so it's not critical to build one, but unfortunately I really don't want everybody there starving, so let's maybe connect it for now. It doesn't hurt us that much. Whoa, it looks like the AI has already decided to do so, so we don't need to. That was very fast of them. We will, however, get rid of that artillery foundry that I noted there. There's not enough people here to effectively utilize that facility, unless we hand it off to the Philippines eventually, since this is part of a larger state. But they can build their own later. We don't want all the infrastructure to be sucked up here, and then the AI will keep building docks there. Are these nationalized? They are indeed. So let's see what the infrastructure is sitting at now. 3 of 3, alright, that's fine for now, assuming that the AI doesn't build a lot more for a little bit. There's not many employees on our sugar plantation, so that can be something that we, we don't need to nationalize, that we can remove later if the need arises. Let's get the clock going now and try to get to the end of this war between Russia and Qing. I mean, the war between Russia and France and the treaty with Qing, the truce. I still need more coffee this morning, apparently. Our law has stalled yet again. That is unfortunate. So we have to start all over from scratch. So China has withdrawn from a treaty, and I believe that was the truce treaty. Let me check something. It used to be problematic. Alright, good. It is still a treaty port. I recall there was a bug at some point which would remove the treaty port status at the end of the war if that treaty port status was tied to another one of the ceasefire conditions from the end of the last war. And indeed, in our case, this treaty port was tied to the money we were receiving as war reparations. So we still have that truce, I believe. That was not 12 weeks. 4 days left. Lovely. Triage has been unlocked. We'll definitely want to be activating that pretty soon. And our government queue is done, and we're burning this investment pool at a pretty good clip. That's great. The Anti-Russia League has formed as a result of Russia overtaking us in the top 10 prestige. Wow, and that is a large community as well. The intelligentsia will eventually have to choose between being pro-Dutch or anti-Russians, but the other ones, yes. It looks like we're going to be taking a bit of an anti-Russia stance as well. They're still bogged down in this war, though, but I wonder if the British would help. Let's declare for what I really want, Formosa. That should be maybe 22 aggressive expansion? 20, alright, even less than I thought. That's great. If I say I want to conquer that, yeah, it's an okay chance, but not perfect. Russia has no interest in this region of China. That's unfortunate. I'm sure they have an interest in the north. Liberate country, conquer state. Alright. They don't like us very much, though. Ideological similarities. They seem to have great relations with Qing. That's surprising. I guess maybe they are happy with what they have and have no desires to go for Port Arthur here. I'm guessing we're going to hold off just till this war ends between Russia and France, so that we can maybe sway them in, and will give me an opportunity to think just a moment about whether we can take something else in the north so that Russia at least has an opportunity to get swayed in. There's another diplomatic play over here. Very complicated region. Is this another unification play? It is. Your last unification play did not go well, my friends. I don't think you want to try again, given your current conditions. And certainly it doesn't look like they're going to be doing well at the moment. Probably Britain might get swayed into that, so that is a little bit problematic. What is the army of Qing looking like? Very weak, other than their massive amount of conscripts. We could also instead liberate Formosa instead of taking it. Not sure I really want to do that, but I mean, it works perfectly fine. But it does mean that you have to take the longer path to getting Formosa into your block. Excellent. The Tarakoya system is complete. We now get a boost to our research at the cost of a little bit of a debuff to our bureaucracy for the next 10 years, I believe. We could check, I suppose. Modifier. 9 years. Well, 10 years, yes, then. That is a 14% technology research speed. Yay. Come on, Russia, wrap up your war. So now I just fill with dead air while I wait for a war to complete. Hey, another agitator supporting our modernization movement. That is good. Britain does not look like they're coming in on this play. They're still fighting Singtang down here in the Dutch East Indies. Let's do a quick check here, see if any treaties have been finally withdrawn from. No, they have not. So I think we have to go in anyways, or this episode will just be me doing nothing and watching time go by. We're not even building anything. Another stall. Ooh, this is harsh. I'm not going to take the hit. I'm going to go for this, even though it puts us at the very edge of failure. If it fails, it fails, and we'll focus on Navy instead of focusing on our Army. Speaking of Navy, let's focus on it a little bit right now. Alright, I'm happy enough with our capital ships, but nonetheless, I am going to pop a couple up after I pop up 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, and 5, and, well, relatively indifferent in there, 6. Alright. That means I have enough space for at least a couple of these, wherever they are not being built now. 1, 2, 3. Alright, an odd number, unfortunately, but that's fine. I can live with odd numbers for a little while. It won't drive me crazy. It's fine. Alright. Pardon. Another racism event. I'm not even going to read it because there's nothing you can really do about it. Alright, where shall we declare war? Let's check if there is any opportunity for us to liberate a country that we don't have too much interest in. They would receive provinces there. Not going to help us. That province we want, so we're not releasing that. I've never really released many subjects from them, so I can never really remember where all of the things that would be released. And I've never played China itself as well. Definitely not releasing them. I believe that is in the north, if I recall properly. I can't see it even. It's so far in the north that my little pop-up is covering where it is. There is a mod, apparently, that will allow you to click these in a different way. I'm worried that that would impact our trade port, though. So our treaty port, so I'm not sure I want to do that. And I don't want to create landlocked people. That should also be landlocked, of course. Well, if I think back to my EU4, this should not be landlocked, but it's awfully large. 3 states. I'm not sure I really want to do that. I'm trying to think ahead a little bit in that I don't want other powers to grab up the provinces that I release. That doesn't look like a bad option. If I select that, it does put Russia in the general area, but they're still very unlikely to join us. All right, let's give it a shot and say that we want to liberate this. It's going to limit our options, though, for other things, because it is rather expensive, I'm sure. The war has begun, and let's mobilize all of our military units. This will be rather expensive to maintain. Check our mobilization options. I think that's fine. We're not going to turn this on quite yet because we don't have good liquor producing facilities. It's because the Japanese are sucking up all the liquor themselves. Alright, we cannot make land here because we have exempted Korea from participating in our diplomatic plays. So the British have to come in, and if not, we will have to make a landing, and that will not be pleasant. But British are going to come in, trust me. See? Look at that. Alright. Once they come in, we can mobilize our armies and deploy our navy. I'm going to presently split the navy, though, and again, give myself, we'll say, 8 ships. We don't know how they're going to deploy at present, so we're just going to give ourselves 8 frigates and move over the admiral, who was not very good, but who has now at least become a dockyard organizer. So he'll be good for deploying in long-distance missions. And I can see we're going to have to promote our other leader a little bit, though. All right. They can stay put right here for now. Well, our main fleet can stay put right there. They're a bit under their organization, so we're going to promote our general one more time. Does that put them at a good organization level? Yes, it does. All right. And let's get the clock a-ticking. And the play has started. Let's see what the British want. War goals. All right. That was an obligation. War goal. Conquer state. What state would you like to conquer, my friends? Don't be Formosa. Langfang. Well, okay, you can. I hope it does not keep them distracted in the south too much and prevent them from landing their troops where we actually need them. That is a peculiar thing to want, but hey, it's all yours, guys. All right, the British have come in, and our relationship has improved as a result. And now we can move our army to a front. Let's see. Well, not quite yet. There should be a front opening up in Tibet, I thought, but it doesn't look like it is. Tibet must be excluded as well from participating in diplomatic plays. No, because they were red on the map. I'm not sure why a front isn't forming here. Not passable, but that looks like it's a passable bit of terrain. This maybe is not. Interesting layout then, I would say. Let's wait a little bit and see if a front opens up. Doesn't look like it wants to. That is a bit unfortunate. Oh, I sent these guys to the wrong places. Let's get you up here and you down here. That's much more appropriate. All right. We're going to have to make a landing then, but we'll wait for the British to help out in that endeavor. I'm not sure why fronts are not forming here. I mean, of course, here there is definitely, nothing but mountains. Okay, it's on their side of the border that there is also impassable terrain. Whew, that is a bit unfortunate. But the British will be able to make the landing, and we may be able to. 57, okay, that's about the right size. The best army we have, Defender, Surveyor, so not Second Army. I would reckon then First Army is a little bit better with their open terrain and tactful leader. Yep. First Army will be the one to make the landing, but we'll wait to do it until the British make their move. Oh, let's not forget to, of course, add in another war goal. The one that we really wanted. And in this case, we're just going to conquer it straight out. It is a bit unfortunate to do that. I usually lean towards the other option of not straight out conquering it and releasing it and then going in for a subjugation. But, better this way. We've got the infamy. This is one of our core things we want to do, so let's do it. Still have a lot of sways left. But I don't want to get much more infamy. Let's look if there's other things we can liberate then. We've already checked. I need a bigger map. I don't want to do that quite yet. They're all far too landlocked, and I don't really want to do Shandong. And that is far too big. Tell you what. Well, we don't necessarily want the entire region to be fragmented. I'm leaning towards Qin. And we also don't necessarily want to have to invade every part of China to get our war goals. I am honestly going to do Shandong anyways, because it is the one that is in our interest the most. If it negates our treaty port, then it negates our treaty port. I don't care. Alright, that's good. 2 provinces, same region. I'm not asking for any treaty articles or anything at this time. I don't want any more infamy. Just in case an opportunity comes up in the south for the Philippines, I want to burn down a little bit. Oh, there should be a front there. Why is that not listed as a front? The British even have troops there. Well, let's see if we can get a unit there. Deploy to front. Alright. I mean, yes, I guess it just didn't give us the front options because the fronts were already defended immediately. The British must have had some troops pre-positioned there. My mistake. We've got several fronts we can be going to. I'd better get some soldiers there. Let's get here first. We need all of our soldiers in our front up on top first. So let's select them all. And I did realize you can actually then select them all and then right-click on the front and send all your troops there. That was my mistake. It's something I had also read or heard or done once and then kind of forgot over time. Alright, ships are appropriately deployed, more or less. I'll move them up here instead though. Of course, with the British on our side, there's not a lot of danger. I am, however, going to make sure we've got at least a couple more people on defense. And on the 1st Japanese Army, we will put the surveyor also on defense. And once the war kicks off, I'll make a decision whether we want to totally sit on defense. Judging that the British have a fair amount of troops there, I don't think it's particularly necessary, so should be fine. Going rather slow, I do apologize for that, but, you know, that's the way it is. Let's look at the government construction queue. Or the private sector construction queue, that is. They're building us a military shipyard. That's nice. Let's look at prices here. I want to make sure I'm not neglecting anything. Alright, looks okay-ish. We can just continue to let the private sector do its thing then. Though I do want to intervene either at the end of this episode when the war is done or the beginning of next, you know, and take a slightly more thorough look at the market and determine where some intervention may be required to level out prices a little bit. Okay, the war has commenced. How many British troops do we have sitting here supporting us? Only 45. I thought I saw more earlier, but apparently not. They're in the south instead. Are they actually British troops? Yes, 17 of them are. Making sure there weren't troops from the Raj. There are some, but not that the Raj troops are bad. But I prefer the British have theirs there. They tend to be a tiny bit better. I think we are fine to advance. We don't need to worry about the Chinese army that much. I would be more comfortable, though, if we had skirmish infantry. Let's slow this down. Let the time tick. Let's make sure that our naval ships are all manned up. They look as if they are. Yes, they are. If I tell you to build more. Nope, they are still manning up a little bit, though. So we'll leave that for now. And let the private sector do its thing. First battles have commenced, and the British leading the charge. And we are not even helping out, so, you know, hey, that's fine. We can preserve our manpower. They're also leading the charge in the south, and they're landing down in Langfang. Alright, making sure that we are not getting convoys raided, and indeed we are not. We can switch this naval commander over to doing a blockade of the provinces. Switch this naval commander to make sure he is escorting convoys. They are. And we have a bureaucracy shortfall, so let's take a look at that and upgrade a few more of our government admins. Buildings, government admins, and Oh, yes. Something else to do. Always good to look at this from time to time. Tell you what, let's start with the low ones and get them done, even if their tax capacity is not necessarily short. I'm going to do that one and that one. And we may end up doing almost all of them, to be honest. All right, only one left, Chubu. How much will that buy us? They're currently sitting at 650. It'll get us about 200, just a little bit shy. Not enough for an institution, but, you know, it's fine. That should adjust paper prices up. It did a little bit, but not much. Let's look at the battles. They're going just fine. The law debate failed again. We are not having luck with a professional army. Generally, if you get an event like this, the 5% bureaucracy is nice if there's something you're angling for and you just don't have the time to build the extra bureaucracy now. I mean, say you need 1,000 bureaucracy to build the Sinai Canal or something. But it's only going to be around for 5 years and then it's gone. So I tend to not take it and just get the tech progress, even though identification documents is a good ways off. Plan for the future. Let's just let the war progress. Now, I should probably speed it up because this war is not going to be particularly problematic. And we want to get on with the conquering. Ooh, the British. I thought they were getting pushed back there, but you can usually rely on them coming back. The bouncing back and forth. I don't even want to see that bouncing back and forth. All right. Well, this war is going on. We'll slow it down again then, making sure that, you know, it's going fine. And look at the map elsewhere. Is this battle being won? It is. Okay, good. The conquering has progressed. And I wanted to just do a quick check. Well, we're buddy-buddy with them and see if there's anything else we can get. Unfortunately, we can't get that alliance. And we've already requested trade privileges. They would grant us military assistance, probably in exchange for trade privileges on their own, yeah. Not a perfect chance of success, but let's go for that, because much of our army is a little bit green, noobs, and they could use the extra training boost that this gives. And they did agree to it. All right, good. I'm rather keen to wrap up this war and get on with focusing on what I prefer, the diplomatic situations and such. That port is still not done because it takes so long to build stuff down there. But it doesn't seem to be interfering with our life too much. Let's see how the provinces are blockaded. We don't exactly have a massive navy, and these provinces are, well, they are blockaded at 100%. That's surprising. I don't think that they are helping the blockade up here because these are different sea nodes, but, you know, maybe I'm missing something, or maybe our navy is better than I thought. All right, we're down to 50 on the war score, so they are getting closer. A stall. And no choice. We have to take the bureaucracy hit then here, unfortunately. And actually, no, we don't, because either way, this law is dead. No professional army for us. So we're going to take that on the chin and be just fine with it. And instead focus on our navy a little bit. This thing should go off to the fire. It has done so. Let's take a look at the laws and figure out if there's something else that we can get instead. At the moment, it does not actually look like it. And boy, the military is an illegitimate government, but all of them are illegitimate. It's a shame we couldn't make the military happier, because I would have liked to have then just moved on and tried to resolve this deadlock that exists in legitimacy by passing a voting law. That can sometimes backfire and leave you with even less legitimacy, though. You could probably go through, and if you're passing wealth voting, you could take a look here. So you could go to the industrialists, go to their power, wait for your circle to stop. All right, they're at 337 from wealth. Let's see the landlords and how they are at wealth. And their political power is getting 393 from wealth. Let's see the likely ally of the industrialists, the intelligentsia. 2. All right, fairly large for them as well. But nonetheless, as long as the landlords and the industrialists have almost equal amounts, it means the deadlock might not break quite as much as you would like, but at the same time, it probably will. This is actually quite a bit of money for the intelligentsia. So I think it probably would, particularly if the petite bourgeoisie manages to get in government with the industrialists, which they might. This being irrelevant right now because it's punishing us for things that would not exist, i.e. the size of government. 38 on the ideological incompatibility, though. We'll see. We'll see. All right. I think we're going to have to do that anyways, even if it upsets the military. We'll see and make sure, of course, that it doesn't upset them too much, though. Wealth voting. Not a great chance of passing. Radicalizing the shogunate. That is irrelevant. But it did notice the guild system here. Sets the petite bourgeoisie a better chance of passing. Well, we'll do that next. We're not going to do a health system yet. It's too expensive, and we're not angling specifically for migration to come to our country. We could actually go also colonial exploitation now, but that would really radicalize the Hyman, and they could revolt. Not a big revolt, but it could happen. And we could also move to interventionism, which is great, and I think we might want to do. But this is the priority. So we're going to do this, and that way if it fails, we can switch to something else that looks very viable, like interventionism, or reforming our labor system, and come back to this later. Is there any extra authority floating? We do have 100 extra, and I'm going to simply leave that for now and let us float it, because I want this to pass even 4% quicker. All right, let's get the clock rolling so that we can wrap it up. Probably I've spent too much of this episode talking, but you know, if you were interested in just seeing the gameplay, you'd watch videos where nobody talks at all. So I assume you do want to see me talk a little bit. Brazil has founded a power block. Good job. Tibet is in default. We are down to 0 and going negative now. Probably they are almost ready to make peace. 20 away. Let's just roll this down then and watch the time tick, and I'll have a sip of coffee. And 1 piece is ready. Take a look at what we obtained in the war here, just to assess it for future, and what kind of territory is good to possess if we want to drive peace. The capital being something, of course, that's of critical import. Nobody likes their capital occupied. Peace treaty is signed. Yes, indeed, our treaty port is no longer a treaty port. It is a shame. Oh, and in retrospect, I probably could have just grabbed a new one, but oh well. Nobody is perfect. Please forgive me. All right. So let's see how they're feeling. They really do like us, and I'm feeling more like this game is not a I'm gonna conquer you guys game, though. I mean, we'll think about subjects and think more that these guys look like nice little friends, and we can try to keep them as independent partners, perhaps. Well, let me know your opinion on that. Do you think we should vassalize them? We do have truces with them. I did one time do something, no idea what, where I declared a war, and I tried to emulate it again later, and I told them to release Formosa, and for some reason I did not have a truce with Formosa. So either it was a bug, or there was a certain order of action and certain things I asked for that led to that truce not existing. I have no idea what it was. I was very excited and thought I discovered something, but I could not replicate it, unfortunately. All right, let's take a look at our time here, 35. That's getting very close to what I would consider a more reasonable episode. We have not built almost anything this episode. How is that port coming along? Oh my. Somebody has said that there is a mod that exists that will kind of make this AI readjust its building priorities if something will just never finish. And apparently that mod might be necessary. All right, let's look at this province then. And despite it interfering with our flow, I am going to give them some road maintenance. Well, nope. Violent suppression is probably going to be more effective. Turmoil from radical 92%. Come on, people. Jeez. It's not that bad. All right, let's not give them road maintenance. Let's suppress that and take a quick look at how much that helps here. All right, that helped quite a bit. So I'm going to stop here and look at our situation here. I am a little bit worried that these people will get taken by other powers if I do not seek to protect them. Surprised they don't have a truce with the British as well. The British were in the war. So that maybe then was what I did. I came in on somebody else's war and helped them. And thereby I didn't have a truce. I didn't think that was the case. I'm almost certain it wasn't, but maybe it was. All right, let's forget about it then. It's irrelevant until I actually find a solution, but since the British have no truce here, they might decide they like that. I'm hoping not, if we can keep happy enough with them. That relationship has gone down, though. We have to improve that. Guess they don't like our infamy levels. Let's improve also with the French. Not concerned about them. Not really concerned about the Portuguese. I might want them as an enemy. But at the same time, I have, as Japan, had the Portuguese voluntarily subjugate themselves to me. Which is a nice thing to happen in exchange for saving them from something that wasn't even really that serious. But they are such a weak power that they are very often willing to do that. So we'll make that determination later. No chance to improve relations there, but we can set ourselves up to improve relations. Nope, they are so thrilled with us because we independented them. I like inventing new words that really flow off the tongue. So they are free and they love us a lot. We can draft some treaties with them and make sure that nobody else snaps them up. What means we will have to focus a bit more on military strength in the next episode. All right, let's review. So we built almost nothing, which is fine. We let the private sector take care of that. They burned it down by a few million in a relatively short period of time, and the burn rate is really quite high. So that's not bad. And I think maybe I will increase construction so that burn rate speeds up, but that's all I'll build. Other than maybe planning some things where there may be some bottlenecks. The AI seems to be building a good spread, paper, tooling, glass as well, good. We do want to get that up, and in fact, I was toying with going against what I said earlier and disbanding our paper company. How is that paper company doing? Well, they're doing okay. Don't pay attention to the red. The bar has at least gone up. What are their assets? They still don't have a lot of assets. A little bit of extra glass, a few extra furnitures as well. I've seen. Oh yeah, no, they've built up a little bit, so they're doing okay. The reason I'm thinking about disbanding them now, though, and then just taking the burden of lead, for instance, onto myself, is that the company that they will be replaced with, Kinkozen Sobe, has some very good modifiers once you hit productivity. Good for what we're currently doing. Infamy decay of plus 10%. That is great. Leverage generation plus 5%. Also good. Plus 5% influence. Influence has become incredibly valuable in this game. In the early iterations, I always felt like I was having tons of influence and nothing to do with it. But now, between your power block and the better diplomacy, plus influence costs for all of your treaties, influence is valuable. And I never have enough. So we will need that. And I may think at the beginning of the next episode of just disbanding that furniture company a little bit early and getting up Kinkozen Sobe so we can get those extra bonuses. All right. So that's the domestic scene. The international scene, that was where we were active. We got our foothold down in the Philippines region, and we will continue to monitor that closely. What I'm kind of hoping is that Spain gets involved in something else, maybe something else that even the British would help out with, and that we can go in when they have other bigger problems and their allies have other bigger problems. In the interest of that, I'm going to actually put a claim up, a interest up in Iberia. I'm going to pop one in Italy too, just because we've got that extra interest, and I'll even put one in Russia. And later on, maybe we can remove it. I'll look at our trade situation again to see where we value the most from interests. We still have a lot now But I'll save the rest until the beginning of next episode because I don't want to go over time here too much. So yes, we need to lay down a bunch of interests in the next episode, so that both benefiting our trade and on where we want to go next with our expansion. In this episode, as well as our foothold down here, we have taken Formosa. I will be releasing it as a subject. It is a province that has a lot of pops, but has very little else. It does not have a excellent industrial or resource base. It has some logging, but not a lot. But it does have a lot of agriculture. So we're going to release it. I might build one or two things there just to kind of help the new subject get going. But other than that, I think it's better as a subject so that it does not strengthen the shogunate too much. You can see 47% support down here. We definitely don't want to incorporate this province, at least not anytime soon until that changes a lot. And I think it's just more valuable for mandate progress than for, 40 or so rice paddies. No, we don't need it. All right, and we'll buddy up to these guys, provided that everybody agrees with that, and maybe protectorate them, and if not, we'll just make them friends. We like friends. All right, I'll wrap up then, because everything else is requiring too much in-depth thinking, and it's better to do at the start of the next episode as we consolidate the new geopolitical reality over here, ensure that we have interests elsewhere where we want them, and think about where our next expansion is. But next episode, we will probably focus down a little bit more on the domestic situation and make sure that we can progress towards the honorable restoration. Thank you again for joining me. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Ciao.